is Venom a turd in the wind? Honestly, to get straight to the point, I don't think it was. I actually really enjoyed this movie for what it was. I went in with fairly low expectations, and I also have no ties with the comic books, so I'm not sure how you guys will be going to this movie, but that's how I went in, and I ended up liking it. What really held this movie together for me was Tom Hardy's performance as Eddie Brock and as Venom. That relationship between those two is what really worked for me, and the kind of banter and the humor, and also Tom Hardy's really strange performance. I think it might turn off a lot of people, but I ended up really liking it. It just really depends on what you want from this character. I'm not sure how it is in comics, like I said, but for me, this actually really worked. The weirdness of it and this movie is actually kind of really bizarre. Some of the things that happens in this movie, but you know what? It's fine. I ended up liking this movie. The action really worked for me as well. Ruben Fleischer, the director of Zombieland, directed this movie, and you really get to see the action. There's no quick cuts, there's no shaky cam, or at least not too much of it, and the action is very well crafted. There's one scene which kind of combines my two favorite things, which was when Eddie Brock and Venom first came in contact with each other, which is like followed with their banter back and forth, and this action scene where like these goons are coming after them. That entire sequence, which is about like 10 minutes, really worked for me. I absolutely loved that. Also, the opening scene was probably the most violent thing in the movie, which I think that could have worked in an R-rated movie, which this movie, when it opens, it really does push the PG-13, but after that it does tone down a bit. But when it was violent and when Venom was going all out, I absolutely loved it. Where this movie does kind of fall apart for me was the story when it comes to villain and the dialogue and some of the other side characters. This movie is very generic and very cliched, which I think a lot of people will have some problems with. Some people won't care, but the villain, played by Riz Ahmed, he plays Carlton Drake, which is kind of like an Elon Musk corporate overlord type character, and he really has absolutely nothing to do. He's very generic, his motivations are stale. Same thing with his symbiote counterpart, Riot is his name. He looks really cool, very threatening looking, but also the motivations just aren't there for me. There's no character depth with Carlton Drake and Riot, and there's no connection between those two. I feel like if they would have focused more on that, and also maybe extend it a little bit, focus more on the villain, give him some more story, some more depth, I think it could have worked. What also didn't work for me was Michelle Williams' character. Like, she was fine in the movie, I didn't have a problem with it, but it honestly felt like the studio mandated there to be some romantic relationship in this movie, which was Michelle Williams' character. And I feel like if they combined her with Jenny Slate, I feel like that character could have been interesting, a little bit more to do. But as it is, it just kind of feels mandated. And like I said, very generic. Some of the dialogue between Tom Hardy and Michelle Williams is very basic. Same thing with the villain. The dialogue is just very generic and very basic, and it's just not really that good. Some lines are really bad, even when it comes to Eddie and Venom, having conversations. Some of it is really bad. Some of it just does not work at all. When the movie is trying to be funny, it's not funny. But there are some great moments of humor in this movie, which I was also surprised by. And it seems like it comes when they're not trying to be funny, which maybe that's a problem, but you know what? It made this movie entertaining for me. And like I said, I don't know if I was supposed to be laughing, but I was having a blast when Tom Hardy was doing his performance or whatever he was doing with this movie. I liked it. If you're not on board with that, I feel like this movie will completely fall apart for you and you won't enjoy it. But like I said, Tom Hardy's wacky performance and the action is really what holds this movie together for me. Everything else just is not there. And it's very unfortunate. I feel like if this movie was rated R and they weren't handcuffed to that, like, restriction, then they could have gone all out. Maybe they could have had more violence, more character, a more imposing villain, and I feel like that really could have helped. But for the movie that we got, honestly, was really entertained by it. I think you guys should all go see this movie and make up your own mind. You may hate it, you may end up enjoying it like I did. I don't think you'll love it. Like I said, this movie has a lot of problems with dialogue and story, and it's fine. This movie is fine. I don't think it's as bad as some people are saying, but I actually enjoyed it more than most, I guess. So go into this movie. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Also, we have our podcast, Talking Movies podcast, started on this channel, and also we have an iTunes feed now, which is also linked in the description, as well as the Twitter feed for that podcast, and the channel as well. Go check out all that information in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next review.